I don't think I care if you live in a Cape Cod style house, but you don't have bowls of saltwater taffy out. I don't think your decor has to match the style of the house. Hi, I'm Nate Berkus, interior designer, and I am happy to try and answer the 10,000 questions that you asked on AD's Instagram. What makes a house look put together? Layers. You have to have layers. I know we're all like the weekend warrior. We're like, I'm gonna change my dining room. I'm gonna go out on Saturday. I'm gonna find a new table and new dining chairs, and then I'm done. But that's not what makes a home feel finished. What makes a home feel finished are the placemats that you brought back from Mexico, or the grouping of pictures that you found at flea markets or local antiques malls that you gather in the center of the table for flowers. It's the silver, it's the napkin rings, it's the idea of taking the time to recover the seats of your dining chairs in a beautiful textile that you love, and the way that the layers make a home feel assembled over time that make it feel put together. It's not instant, and it's never done. I think when I talk about layers or making a home feel put together, everyone's like, I can't afford to do that. But the truth is that I still live with things that were under $10 that I found at a garage sale on my way to the bus stop as a kid growing up in Minnesota. It's not about price. It's about gathering objects and things that remind you of places that you've been, of people that you love, about experiences that you have or aspire to have, and making your home be the home base for that collection. Because when your eye travels around the room and it lands on this geode that I bought on a Saturday with one of my really good friends at an antique shop in Connecticut for probably $20. It sits on my desk now, but when I look at it, I remember how it feels to have a free weekend with somebody that I love. How can I make my bedroom more cozy? You have to invite more people into it, I think. Right? In all seriousness, I'm really into 4-poster beds, iron beds, bed hangings. If you look at traditional historic design, people had sort of drapery around their beds. I think a higher upholstered headboard is also a really good option. It gives you the height, allows you to have some pattern and texture, and really kind of make the bed feel a bit more intimate. And a seating area in the bedroom. I mean, we all know we need the bed, we need the night tables, but if you have room for a pair of chairs, if you have room for a small settee, a coffee table, a pair of floor lamps, some symmetry, give yourself somewhere else to land besides the bed in the bedroom, and your bedroom will feel more like a room than just a place to sleep. I used to like really light monochromatic bedrooms because to me they were calming after being surrounded by fabric and color and pattern all day long. Now I'm really reaching for richer, warmer toffees, putties, deeper earth tones in bedrooms because I feel like those colors wrap themselves around you. They have this way of transporting you into this space that really feels like you're sort of living inside your own bathrobe. I think TVs in the bedroom are great. I think TVs in the bedroom are great, especially when you have or are pretending to have the flu. Chic storage solutions for small spaces. In a small space, everything really does have to do sort of double duty. So rather than just buying a console table, that console table should probably be a chest of drawers or a sideboard so that you have storage inside. Big, oversized armoires, even though it feels a little bit counterintuitive using things with a huge scale in a smaller space. I find the larger the piece, the more practical. I don't like furniture that's designed for small spaces in a small space. It's never made sense to me. I think use less, but use properly sort of scaled pieces that aren't designed for a small space, just less of them, and you'll have sort of a more gracious way to live. Don't put in the search engine apartment-sized bed, like you're not Ralph the Mouse, like you need a proper bed. When I had my first apartment in New York City, it was under 500 square feet. It had a little alcove as a studio. I realized that I didn't need as many closets, which sounds insane, that were in the space. And so one of the closets, I pulled out the rod, I mounted a TV in the back of it. I left the shelves beneath it open to hold electronic components and books and things like that. And it all went behind doors, which made me really happy. Are gallery walls over? What do you recommend for somebody with a lot of different kinds of art? I think I would edit things differently these days. We've all had like gallery walls and there are places for them and they're really beautiful. For me now, when I see an image of a room that has a full gallery wall, my brain sort of just shuts down. It's like almost too much to take in. That's for me personally. But I do think that if you look like at the pages of AD and you look at the design projects that are published lately and sort of the movement of how people are using art, I think people are hanging smaller scaled things in unexpected ways and without groupings, or maybe small groupings off center over a headboard, or a row of smaller pieces over a side table. So, is a gallery wall ever going to be over? No. But I think visually, we tire of seeing things, and somehow right now, one beautifully chosen, well-selected painting or photograph or object hanging on the wall feels a little bit more fresh. Do you have any advice on where to start the design process so it's not too overwhelming? I think you need to sort of assemble a lookbook of what you want your home or your space to feel like. Spend some time over a couple of months before you actually start a project, gathering inspiration images of things that really speak to you, so that when you're standing in front of a bathtub or a sofa, you can reference on your phone the things that you've loved and make sure you're not making a decision because it's no payment for the next 65 years, interest only, or free delivery. There's actually this app called Sortly that I'm obsessed with. Everything I own is in this app. I make much fewer mistakes when, as you're out shopping, you'll know. Does that towel bar fit underneath that mirror? Will those sconces look good flanking that painting? You can pull it up on your phone and sort of you have like the entire visual inventory and all the information you need to make smart decisions. So what is the most timeless architectural or design style? Ooh. People are gonna get really riled up about this answer. I think the truth is it's traditional. It's not an area that I play well in. Friends like David Netto, Alexa Hampton do a really good job. I stress out with a lot of different patterned fabrics, but I will say that I've always loved timeless design decisions. I think you have to really look back on historic properties and do your research, do your homework. When you look at things like the Wrightsman rooms at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, no one's walking in there going, wow, this would be a lot better if they just kind of changed the paint color of the walls. So the most classic, the most traditional interiors are the ones that stand the test of time. How do I know the vintage piece is worth the price? Ooh, this is my favorite question ever. I started my career at an auction house, so everything I do somehow touches the secondary market, vintage, antiques, etc. I have stood outside a jewelry shop in Rome that sells silver things for the home, and after I've walked through and shopped and seen like things that I thought were beautiful, a pair of candlesticks, a bowl, I've stood on the sidewalk in front of the store going on sites like The Real or First Dibs to find out how I could buy something for less money, the exact same thing, and what information I needed to know about it. So if you are curious whether a vintage piece is worth the price, if it's signed, that makes it really easy. If it's not, ask what style it is, and then step outside and do some research. It takes 2 minutes. It gives you an education, it gives you also a negotiating tool, and you feel better about what you're buying. If you're willing to take a risk because it's not a lot of money and you're standing at the garage sale on the corner of your street, but you just love something, then just buy it. How bad can it be? How do I find common decorating ground with my partner who has totally different tastes? You have to marry somebody like I did who doesn't have totally different tastes. That's the solution. If somebody has completely different tastes than you really have to kind of front load the entire design process with honesty and being as direct as you can be. You can pick or have like veto rights on 5 elements, and I can have veto rights on 5 elements. In our kitchen renovation in our apartment in New York City, Jeremiah was convinced that he wanted to use the marble that we ended up using, which had a massive amount of green and brown in it. I didn't dislike it, but I was really hesitant. I was like, don't you think we're gonna get tired of that? That's really so busy. It's such a statement. And Jeremiah was like, well, I ordered it already. How to furnish a new house so that it isn't only trendy, but I will actually like it for long. All right, I'm really going deep with this one, so I want you to listen closely. Trends are awful. They make people feel bad about what they didn't have to make us buy things that we don't necessarily need. So rather than worry about how to live with trends, worry about how to craft an interior that's deeply personal and reflects what you actually love and will love forever. Just don't be distracted. Even if I'm on television telling you that you have to have a green dining room, which I won't be, but even if I did, don't listen to me. How do I make sure my decor matches the style of my house? Why do you want to do that? I don't think you should do that. I think that you should create an environment that really rises up to greet you, a place for experimentation, a place that your own personal style shines through. I don't think I care if you live in a Cape Cod style house, but you don't have bowls of saltwater taffy out. I don't think your decor has to match the style of the house. I think when decoration is not real, that's when you notice a real sort of departure from the architecture. And by not real, I mean, signs that say like J'adore Paris, or fake like Eiffel Towers on the wall of a suburban kitchen. But if you want a French country kitchen at a beach house, then you should feel the freedom to be able to do that. It's what you love, that's what you should be living with. It's a good place to save money during a renovation. The best way to save money is to obviously create a budget and try your best to stick to it, but try not to move that many walls. And if you are gonna move the walls, try not to move the location of the actual appliances or the plumbing, because taking down a wall between two rooms that aren't utilitarian, like a living room and a dining room, is a lot easier than taking down a wall that separates a kitchen or a bathroom from a bedroom. And moving a toilet, for instance, is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of labor behind the scenes to get the toilet on a wall across from where it originally sat. Decor tips for beginners. How do you find your style? I think it's taking the time to really go through and collect images of things that you love. You don't even have to be able to explain why you love them. You could look at a picture of a room and it likely won't be the exact room you love, but you can notice how the color of the walls works with the color of the sofa, and that color combination might be something you carry with you to the next image that you like. You can notice the way the room is filled with furniture or feels more minimal and what feels good to you about that. A floor plan that you wouldn't have thought of, that most of us wouldn't have thought of. I still do that. I'm on social media, not looking at the fabrics necessarily, but looking at how they position the sofa or how they fit another piece of furniture in a room that I wouldn't have thought of initially. So finding your style is examining other people's styles and figuring out what to take from each of those styles to make it your own. I found my style, I would say, a lot of practice and a lot of exposure. And that exposure came from traveling, came from being in old buildings and studying how the hinges looked and the patterns of the floor and things like that. Not the most fun person to travel with, apparently. At Leslie Hindman Auctioneers, the auction house that was my first job, I saw everything come in. 19th century French dishes, silver, rugs from all over the world, whole estates and homes disassembled for sale. Watching people's collections showed me and exposed me to so many different ways of living. But I'm still finding my style. I hope I always am still finding my style. I hope I'm always inspired by things that I see. I hope everywhere I go makes me think of how to assemble a room or assemble a space in a different way. I inherited a house fully furnished. Lucky you. How does one include your own style without changing the core furniture? I think if I inherited a house that was fully furnished, which has never happened, I would take a real inventory of each piece and I would start moving everything around. Maybe I would recover some of the upholstery if there was anything that I really didn't like, a pattern, a color, but when I was younger, before I had my design firm, before I did anything, I loved moving my bedroom around, or we would go to friends' houses and I would go for a play date and the mom would come home and be like, why is my sofa in a different location? So I think when you have a fully furnished home that you've inherited, you've also inherited an opportunity to be really creative and pull out that chest of drawers that's in the bedroom and try it in the entry with a mirror hanging above it. Break up a set of night tables and use one as an occasional table next to the sofa. I love a deep inventory. That's why I have lots of warehouses all over the place. Thank you so much for all of the questions. It was really fun trying to answer everything truthfully and honestly. I hope I did that. Have fun on your design projects.